Okay. Yeah, I'm happy we have everyone gathered. And hi, welcome everyone to the April 2025 version of the OpenDev technical fellowship call from Polkadot. It's a very interesting event. We are streaming live from a flying saucer. We are comparing our merge. And we have some pretty ingenious people here. We have, of course, Gavin Wood, but we also have Basti, the inventor of Basti blocks. We have Kian here, who gave a very interesting and moving speech at the Polkadot Blockchain Academy just a few days ago, and a lot of other great people. And yeah, we're using this opportunity every month to come together, give all the fellows the opportunity to tell each other what's going on in their respective line of work, and also to give the community and developers from other Parachain projects, other kinds of developers, and just everyone who is interested an opportunity to listen in to everything that's going on, and also ask relevant questions like when elastic scaling and other kinds of stuff. And so we're getting to the ground of these things today. And yeah, as we do it always, we go by the ranks of the fellowship. So every member of the fellowship has a rank depending on how long they're here, how much they've contributed. And we are starting with rank 7, Gavin Wood, our only member in this rank. And so I think I just had the opportunity to see you last week when you presented to the PBA students. Hi, Gavin.
Hello. Yes, I was part of my thing was doing a bit of traveling. So I was at the PBA doing some teaching last week. Yeah, other than that, a bunch of things, nothing too dramatic, but one thing that I've been fighting with for the last hour or two is getting the release of some of the tooling, for some of the jam tooling for the other jam teams to be able to use. I posted a screenshot a week or two back of jam top, this kind of like table of process Unix CLI tool for jam that if they adhere to the JIP2, the jam improvement proposal, the second jam improvement proposal, which details an RPC interface, then they'll be able to use this jam top to see what's going on their jam networks. And another tool which I wrote and that I'm sort of poised to release, apparently I'm missing a version. Okay, is the main jam tool, which is this kind of like Swiss Army knife for jam, and it allows you to like create services, send services, and send work packages to services, like compose them from different work items, and it will be expanded in the not too distant future with like support for authorizations and so forth. After I've done that, I'm planning on trying to get the jam testnet binary release, so people, if they're on like Linux or Mac OS, will be able to start running jam test, like the parity implementation of jam testnets, which could be quite helpful for other jam teams to like throw blocks against, and might be helpful for more like enthusiasts who are interested in starting to develop with jam, to run their own test nets and start like coding up services and so forth. One of the things that I was hoping to get released, but it's probably not too far away, is the CoreVM, the sort of actual source release of CoreVM, so that again jam teams that have got their implementation to a point will be able to deploy CoreVM on their networks and be able to start developing, playing around with these persistent services, these persistent executables. Yeah, there've been like a bunch of other sort of more mundane bits of refactoring work within the code base that's probably like not really worth going into here, but basically just like making it much more flexible and parameterizable so that we can in Jam we have like these smaller test nets that where they're just like 6 nodes. Like like when I was demoing it at the university, it's like you don't want to have to spin up 1,023 nodes to do a small demo. So we have like a number of different. Well, actually, we really have 2 main ones, but in theory, you can have like several sort of conventions as to how like different sizes of Jam network with different parameterizations because of it. Now, because you see Jam's like a fairly like it's pretty sophisticated protocol with like DA layer built in and everything. So you need to be able to reparameterize certain other things if you change the number of validators, because the validators don't all do the same thing, right? It splits the DA around the validators and so on. So you need to be able to reparameterize them. If you no longer have 1,023 validators, you only have 6, for example. So it was a bit of sort of faffy refactoring to get all that done, but it's sorted now and it's in our little code base. So hurrah. And then, yeah, other than like getting the tooling and some executables out for people to see, I'll probably move back to the grey paper over the next few weeks and try and make a move towards 0.7. There's a fairly substantial list of smallish things that need doing that you can see on the grey paper repo. And yeah, it's probably about time to, power through them and get all that in.
Awesome. Thank you, Gavin. So what interests me is what is the status of the different different implementation teams? I guess a few of them have reached milestone 1, and sort of when would you expect a testnet to appear between them? I think they have had some private testnets. Like, what's the status here?
Difficult to say because the teams are all working sort of behind closed doors in order to keep their implementations clean room. So that's sort of an intended, it's like by design, but it does make it a bit hard to see really how far people have got. Certainly there's a couple of teams that have that are saying they've gotten to at least milestone 1. I think there's Jamduna are saying that they've got to even milestone 2 and are looking into sort of trying to make fast PVM implementations now. I've noticed there's like in the chat room, there's quite a few people that are now interested to see how to engineer a PVM recompiler, which would indicate they are starting to think about milestones 3 and 4. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. We will know a bit more after the Jam, whatever it's called, Jam 0, Jam Experience. I'm not sure what we're calling it at the moment, which is in early May in Lisbon, out of the Parity office there. And I think that will be an interesting time to try to, tie up the loose ends for 0.6 series and maybe like kick off a little test net and see if things are sort of working. See how many implementations can start syncing and so on. I don't know how many will actually be validating, but maybe we'll see 1 or 2 like have an attempt at validating, like actually authoring blocks. But I think we may very well see more than that who are actually just able to do a full node sync, which is pretty cool. But I mean, it's speculation at this point. We can maybe try to sort of collect a bit more information. One of the things that I was working on actually in this interim period was trying to formalize, like as part of the Jam Prize rules, some of these alternate sort of paths, because initially like the rules were written like quite unambiguous, like quite straightforward. You need to implement all 5 milestones. This involves writing a recompiler. The recompiler, it's pretty hardcore. I mean, I don't think it's beyond any of the teams necessarily, but it's still like it's a lot of work, and it's not necessarily going to improve our decentralization all that much. I think the import logic and probably some of the authoring logic and strategy is probably helpful for client for network security and client diversity. The PVM recompiler, it's like one of the lesser aspects. So that's why it's I tried to like introduce a new route to getting the jam prize that didn't involve writing a PVM recompiler. So as of not that long ago, on my prize notes, it's yet to be ratified by the foundation. They're looking over it. There's a proposal to allow for basically teams to skip that part and get straight to go all the way to milestone 5 without doing it at the price of some of the prize money. And then similarly, it would be really helpful to have some light clients. Like, I think this is like pretty crucial. Polkadot's lucky that it's got like small dot, it's really decent light client. So I think it's like, important to incentivize the creation of these things, and jam price seems like as good a way as any. So this was like also like another route to getting the prize money, which again, it's like not as much prize money as like the regular the originally posted route, but I think it's still like okay, and you can get there quite a lot faster, I would have thought. I don't think it's nearly as much effort to write a light client, even a fast one, as it would be to write an authoring node of PVM recompiler that goes like zippy speed. That's in the documentation. That's in like my personal prize documentation at the moment.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, so Jam 0 coming up early May, and it's going to reveal what's the status of the different teams and how far we are right now as a group. Okay, pretty cool. Thank you, Gavin. All right. So let's move on. We have a question from Oliver. Sorry, I forgot about the questions.
One question. So about these parameterizations of your node, like the constants that are not like hard-coded, depending on the network size. Do you have like a list of them? Because like at least a lot of developers have been using like at least these ones. I put a link in chat. But yeah, it would be helpful if you have more than that, if you push them back up, or if you have a list.
I think I'll just quickly check this, but I think they're the same. Chain tiny, validator 6, cores 2, slot duration 6, epoch. Oh, okay, no, maybe not. Contest duration 10, 3. I think it might be the same. I think it's the same, but not certain. So we should. That's something to check. But I suspect I mean the number of EC pieces per segment seems like, I mean, it could only really be that if we're going to have 4K segments and you've got 6 validators. So that's almost certainly fine. And then I think it's just the rotation, but I think it's good. I think it's what we have.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, when you want to try it at a toaster, it would be good if every team has tested it themselves with the same parameters, but then we're good.
Indeed. Yeah.
Okay, and I had one more question about this CLI that does like where you manually step through the accumulate and refine and like the authorization possibly. Like, does it work via RPC, or was it just using some library, or how did it work?
Oh, you mean the REPL?
Yeah.
The REPL is it uses a sort of, it's got an internal node basically, so it doesn't actually set up a network, so it doesn't use any kind of RPC. It sort of sets up a kind of fake node, and then like fake has like a bunch of fake keys and all the rest of it. So it's super PolkaJam specific, but there is another tool which does work with RPC and should work with any nodes. It's just it's not going to be able to sort of step through like the REPL does, because the REPL relies upon being able to control when it makes blocks. It can't really do that over RPC, because like the nodes should be authoring a block every 6 seconds. They're broken if they're not doing that. And I mean, I guess we could like come up with some like mad dev RPC that lets you have like really fine-grained control over the authoring process, but it's probably like an awful lot of effort for not much gain. But probably what I'll do is still release this REPL RPC, the REPL executable, but just as a sort of binary. And if people, I don't know if people want to play around with it, but yeah, I'll probably try and do that at the same time as getting the testnet binary released as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks. I will try it out when it's out. Yeah, one more question. I think in your price notes for, I'm not sure if it was M2, but you specified that there would be a TryDB needed to be implemented. Like maybe it's a dumb question, but we're currently just remerkalizing after every block. So is it really a requirement to have a TryDB or?
No, I mean, it might be for milestones 3 and 4, but no, not for milestone 2. You might, I don't know if it's going to be very fast. I mean, I guess if you can make use of the GPU and have some mad hashing system going on there, it could actually be pretty fast. But yeah. It's entirely up to you. It's all about behavior, not about implementation specifics.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I mean, that was just something that we're going to do later for optimization, but yeah.
Cool. Any more questions for Gavin? All right. Good. Then next up, we have Bastian Köcher, rank 6 in the fellowship, with a salary of $16,666.67 from the information that I see here.
Yes.
Hi, Basti.
Hello.
How has your month been? Do you still hate forks?
I still hate forks. No, forks are now like a soft problem. But yeah, let me say I'm trying to push to get like the Basti blocks done, so like I can focus on other things. So yeah, I mean, like, you know, like I have written last year this thing like in 2 days, and then like this 2 days like refactoring like some code and make it, yeah, or like refactor it in a nice way so that not all the things are breaking. And like, yeah, it's also sometimes you think about stuff and like new stuff comes up. For example, like like you have like the POV right now, and like if you want to put multiple blocks into the POV, that means like you share like all the resources, which is maybe sometimes not the thing you want to do, because like when you, for example, want to do like a runtime upgrade, and your runtime is maybe like 2 megabytes big or whatever, it may doesn't fit in one of these small blocks. So you actually then want to have maybe just one block at this time in filling the entire POV, because like they can use like more resources, or like sometimes you maybe need to have more execution time, because same reason here. So like there are these small details which otherwise would be bad if we find them out later, that like, hey, no, you cannot upgrade your chain because like, yeah, your blocks are not like your blocks don't allow that, or like, yeah. So like there are some things we need to like which come up over time if you think about them, because like, yeah, the system right now is not designed to be used in that way, I would say. So yeah, otherwise I think it's working. I'm making good progress. I created like some PRs doing like, so like the fundamentals are there yet, and now I'm working on like the node side, circulator side to build these blocks. It's also already working in like a cleaner version locally for me, and yeah, I hope that in the near future I have something that people can finally use, and they're out like I can get them from my back, and yeah, they don't constantly ask where Basti blocks, and they can just use them.
All right. I suppose it's your main project, or do you have other things going on too?
No, that's my main thing. I mean, yeah, the other things that going on also eat my time. That's why I sometimes don't get that much done. You know, like all the people asking for nothing from what I need to work on, more like where I need to look over and give some review or some comment on what I think about what you have done.
Blocked by Basti blocks.
Yes.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna try to minimize my wordplay for the day.
No, I mean, it's fine. It's just like, you know, it's like you want to get like at some point you want to deliver the stuff, and then like it's like you want to call it done, and like see people using it. Like I mean, like we see. Like I hope that my internal timeline is like one more month or whatever, so that's like kind of finished, and then we need to see how we can like maybe move over. Like then it needs to get into release. I think the next one would be like probably July or something like that, or June, July, something like that. And then like, so that's like the date, and then we can maybe see like if we want to directly go and upgrade Kusama, like some Kusama chain or not. I would see,
All right. Okay, then fingers crossed for a month. And then next month we hear your success report, hopefully.
Hopefully, and not Actually, I wanted to be much far, have done much more up to this point. But 1 month is going so far. It's like I just blink and then like 1 month is gone. But yeah.
Does anyone have any questions for Basti?
I have. I don't know.
Hello.
Proof of possession. No, Adrian pinged you, but there is a PR. It's almost ready.
Yeah, I saw the ping. I know the PR.
No, I want to change your PR instead of sign calling to my PR. So I asked people to add you as a reviewer to that PR, but nobody there. So
no, but Adrian pinged you, and I mean I saw that. It's on my. I have a really, really long big list.
But you didn't add yourself. Maybe add yourself as a reviewer, no?
Yeah, I can do that. I mean, it's not that. As I said, like I have long list of people pinging me on certain things, and it's like I've seen it. I also spoke with Andrew about it like already last year. So like he already told me about it. So yeah.
So if that move forward, then we can have BLS. It's really. That's the blocking for validator signing with the BLS. So and then other parachain people can go crazy with doing the stuff with BLS. So thank you very much. It opened a lot of stuff. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay, moving on. Freshly back from his vacation is Robert Klotzner. And he's a Feder Viennese friend with a rank 4 in the fellowship, a salary of $10,000 that he's not claiming. Welcome, Robert.
Yes, so updates. Personally, I've been mostly involved with reliability. So if you go low latency, I also want this blocks to be reliable. So I'm looking into that. And related, but not the same, censorship resistance, which I would also love to have a bit improved. And yeah, there was a question about elastic scaling. So we are cutting or about to cut a fellowship release right now. So this will enable elastic scaling on Kusama. And with the update in place, we can also enable it on Polkadot. So the full elastic scaling MVP is already on Kusama, just to clear up any confusion I might have just created. And what else? So yeah, reliability, censorship resistance. And we are looking into getting the substrate. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Robert. So you're saying elastic scaling, you're cutting a release to enable it on Kusama, and then in the future, I guess, like then there's going to be one release for Kusama, and then the next release is going to be for Polkadot?
No. Okay, the next release makes it like we will enable this together with the release on Kusama, and it prepares Polkadot to have it enabled. So we just need to pass a motion to enable it on Polkadot, which will come shortly after.
So like a OpenGov configuration.
Exactly.
Right. Yes. Very good. So basically, the idea is enable it for both chains, activate it on Kusama, and then see like for 1 month, or what's the intended time frame before it can go live on Kusama Polkadot?
I mean, obviously everything has been tested, so not much. It's just like we want to do a proper referendum on Polkadot, so it will be separately enabled, but shortly after.
Okay, good to hear. So do you have like a, I don't know who is doing the release management. Do we know when the next Polkadot and Kusama releases are coming?
No, like we would love to have it out as soon as possible. People are working real hard to get it out. So yeah, not from like it definitely like I really want it out in April soon, for sure. Like definitely, like best sooner, but like the realistic expectations. Let's aim for April.
Mm-hmm. Got it. All right. Thank you, Robert. Anyone has a question for Robert? All right. Good. Then we move on. And next up on our list is Kian, rank 4 in the fellowship with a salary of $10,000. And what I just learned about you, Kian, is that you have been part of the Polkadot Blockchain Academy every single time since it launched, right?
Yes, yes. And this time
Pretty
was
impressive.
this time was a bit more shorter and symbolic, but yeah, I've been present in all 6 of them so far. Let's see if I can keep the streak going.
All right. What's else has been going on for you this month?
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit for the last like 2-3 months feel a bit like a broken record saying the same things, that I'm working on preparing the staking system for running on AssetHub. And I think this will be the last month that I repeat this, because I think by the next month we will have this basically the whole AssetHub migration at least on West End. And I think this would give both me from the staking side and everyone else working on this huge project a lot more insight into like what are the next steps. If there's any issues, we can find them. So I hope that next month that I'm very confident that will have happened by next month, and then my update will also be different. But yeah, for the last month, I think other than doing this little PPA stuff with the help of Ankan, who I think is not on the call, but also Fellowship Rank 1, we've been working on the same project. The only thing I can add, I think there is a conversation between Blockdeep and the Rust bounty to also implement RFC 97, and I briefly talked with Gautam on the hows of implementing it and how we can make it overlap with our work in AssetHub migration. We're supposed to follow up again about it, but just a brief update that overall we're also moving forward with that. RFC 97 is the fast onboarding queue. So I think that's something that a lot of people would be happy to see.
Got it. All right. Thank you, Kian. Does anyone have a question for Kian? Good. Then let's move on. Thank you, Kian. So next up is Oliver, rank 3 in the fellowship with a salary of $6,666. Hey, Oliver.
Hey. Yeah, update from my side is a bit similar to Kian's. I'm still working on AssetHub migration. And yeah, currently, so we have a CI check that kind of does a dry run in a Rust test, once for Polkadot AssetHub and also for West End AssetHub. And yeah, it uses a forked version of the SDK, I mean, not fork, but a branch. And it then copies all of the files over to West End AssetHub and kind of runs it there on a snapshot to see that it kind of works. Yeah, but we still want like more overlapping test coverage, like not just with a Rust test, but also with chopsticks, like in JavaScript, and a proper node setup with ZombieNet. Yeah, so that's still ongoing. I mean, I'm helping a lot with like merging the testing stuff and then checking that it everything is covered. Yeah, but otherwise, once this huge staking merge request that Kian mentioned is merged, I will then integrate it into West End, and then we can hopefully go. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice. Does anyone have a question for Oliver? Good. Everything seems to be running pretty smooth this month in terms of. All right. Okay. Then let's move on. Next up is Joe, rank 3 in the fellowship with a salary of $6,666. Hey, Joe.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I mean, not much more to add than what like Mukram and Kian and Oliver have said for AssetHub migration. So yeah, it's looking like mostly on track. I think most of the code is complete. Just yeah, staking to finish up and some of the testing stuff. The Ethereum compatibility on for Polkadot Hub is also pretty similar story. Like most of the code is done. I think like one of the things Alex is working on is this interface between the other palettes and palette revive, so that you could like, you know, write a smart contract that can call into staking and governance and stuff like this. But most of the actual like contract execution stuff is done. And then yeah, like also finishing up some like some work with like Foundry and Hardhat and like all the Matter labs and opens up on tests, make sure everything will actually work and be compatible. And then yeah, like we're looking, of course, like having everything like all of this go through the audit queue is a little bit of like a surge there. So but it looks like we're gonna get everything done in time to still stay on track for Polkadot. Yeah, it looks like on both of these, like the migration and on contracts, like Kusama might be a couple weeks later than we initially hoped for, but I think we'll still be like on our initial track for like August, September for Polkadot.
Okay, that's good. Joe, I have a question. So because I know you always have an opinion on the topic, and I see that some people still call it Plaza, some call it AssetHub, some call it Hub, or different names. What do you think would be the right point in time to start calling it Polkadot Hub?
Yeah, Oliver's right. I do love to talk about this. I mean, like, I feel like one of the battles I've maybe lost is that like Hub has always existed. So that this is just kind of like the next iteration of the Hub. But I keep seeing everybody in usage saying like, you know, when Hub launches, which, you know, I think I get like a gray hair every time I see that. But yeah, maybe that's just how it is. Like people are looking at the completion of this project as like the launch of Hub, which I quite prefer the narrative that like Hub has always existed, just because I mean I think we do get a lot of heat about like always like pivoting and changing things, and some of it is fair, like especially from builders like Parachain builders who have had like breaking changes in the SDK quite a lot. But I do think like it's good to have this narrative that like, hey, it's not completely arbitrary. Like there is like a story, like we started, you know, with like very basic functionality, and then like this is like the next evolution in the Polkadot runtime. But yeah, maybe I lost that battle. But yeah, I mean like I think to go back to your question, like it depends on what it is. Like I don't see like Plaza and AssetHub and Polkadot Hub as being synonymous. Like AssetHub is a component in a larger system, and Polkadot Hub is like it's more of a concept. Like it's an abstraction on top of that. So like if you think about like a normal user story, it might be like I set an identity and like I make a treasury proposal, and then it gets accepted. Or like you want to like apply to join the fellowship or something, this is going to actually be like you're setting the identity on the people chain, you are participating in governance on right now Relay chain, but soon AssetHub, or like if you're getting your salary from the fellowship, like you're claiming the salary on the collectives chain, but it's being paid out on AssetHub. Like, so I view the individual components like the chains, AssetHub, collectives chain, people chain, and so on as just like pieces of a system, whereas like the Polkadot Hub is like a more of an idea. Like it's not so much a tangible thing that you can just point to and say like, oh, it's this chain. Which is also to say we need much better UIs and tooling and stuff, because we shouldn't, like, no users should even know that like AssetHub exists or that it's a thing. They should just see it as like a kind of singular system that they're interacting with. So yeah, for sure we have a lot more work to do on there. But which is to say, like, yeah, kind of coming back to the question is like, yeah, it's fair to use. I don't think we'll ever like I don't get rid of the individual terms. It just depends on like the context. So I think in like a business development or marketing context, there's literally no reason I can ever think of that like the word AssetHub should come out of your mouth. Like it should just never ever be said. It's just Polkadot or Polkadot Hub, Polkadot Cloud. Like these are the things that you talk about. And then like, yeah, of course, if you're talking to like like a wallet or UI developer, you're going to have to say like, hey, to support this user story, you need to connect to this endpoint that is like part of AssetHub, and so of course like everything depends on context. But yeah, I think like for most public facing information, even like today, we should already just be saying like Polkadot or Polkadot Hub, and then maybe like like solutions engineers, like the guys at Blockdeep, or like Adrian's here, like the guys in like the XCM team. Of course, if you're talking about like routing a message, you need to kind of know like the components and like the path that you're routing along. So it always depends on context, but yeah, generally I would like to see every time you say the word AssetHub, try to replace it with Polkadot and see if there's a problem. And I think 90% of the time there's not, and we should just be using that.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for the clarification. You actually convinced me some time ago to call it Hub as the thing that has always been there and it's just undergoing a major revision. But it seems like more people are on the side of calling it the future thing that is just coming up and gonna call that one Hub. So
yeah, I mean, ideally, like the elastic scaling and async backing stuff that everyone called Polkadot 2.0, that should be like Cloud 2.0, and then like when we do all like AssetHub migration and the contract stuff, that would be like Hub 2.0. But I guess we're going with the Hub launching, but you win some, you lose some.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Any questions for Joe? Not. Yes, Oliver.
Yeah, just like a more general question, like when we talk about these different terminology, like I'm not sure if parity is so good at narrative shaping or control or something. Like, there's community people making roadmaps, like thanks Tommy, for example. And of course they use the terms that they think in. So then maybe that's not really what parity wanted. So just, I mean, of course, doesn't really matter that much what parity wants in a decentralized network, but still for our marketing efforts, it would be helpful to have it aligned. Like, do you have some idea how we can improve this communication or some long-term goals?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been trying, but yeah, it's hard. Like, I mean, we probably need just to like, I don't know, push the narrative that even if you're right that like parity is not the best at narrative creation or pushing, like people tend to just kind of grasp on the things that they hear. So they hear AssetHub and they just kind of run with it. So I think we can probably do a better job at telling this story to the people who are doing marketing and BD. I don't know, maybe like better analogies, stuff like that. But like, yeah, I mean, if you look at like a Web 2 service, like you'd never see like, Uber isn't saying like, the new Uber version now running on like Amazon M7 large, whatever, right? Like nobody cares. They're just like, now you can buy food. And that's with like, I think with like AssetHub migration, maybe we do communicate like the details too much about like the relay chain and AssetHub, and it should just be like, hey, lots of other assets, lower ED, lower fees, like Hub 2.0, and keep the AssetHub stuff to ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think oversharing the technical details isn't really helpful to keep the public informed. It's probably just confusing them in many cases.
So for example, how Google solves it, that they have different blogs, and they have a blog for that is more consumer facing or public facing, and then they have the technical blogs. But I think like blogs and interviews are actually the greatest opportunity because they reach the most eyeballs, ears, most ears and eyes to push what you think is the best narrative. But in the end, it's always this sort of moving momentum of the community that settles on certain concepts. Good. Let's move on. Next up is Adrian, rank 3 in the fellowship, with a salary of $6,666. Adrian, do we have you? Yes, here.
Hi, everyone. For the past month, I finished some work related to the AssetHub migration, and this was basically all the configuration required to switch the, let's say, official reserve of DOT from Relay to AssetHub, and some coordination of teleports between system chains during the migration, after the migration, before the migration, and basically migrating not just the balance, but the whole concept and how it's being used of the something highly technical. It's like called the checking account, and it's used to track total issuance of DOT on the chain, which is like the official home of DOT, right? Because you can teleport DOT out of the its home chain, but you still want to have a way to see the total issuance. So this checking account helps with that, and it also helps with a very unlikely scenario where some teleportable chain is compromised, and someone mints DOT and tries to bring it back home, bring more back home than they took out. Yeah. So that's finished. And the other big piece of work which is done is relating to XCM aliases and providing better support, or like more support, which will improve UX for users and for dApps to build better UX, basically user stories, when doing actions that span multiple chains. So when I say the work is done, it's basically been released. We managed to I managed to backport and catch the release of 2503 if the SDK. So it's not yet in the runtimes, in the fellowship runtimes. Yeah, possibly I estimate it will be there around end of Q2. Seeing how the next release is using 2412 SDK, so we need the next one, which aligns with many other things that will be part of this 2503 and are also scheduled for Q2. And to give a bit of details on this, what it does or how it helps is basically two mechanisms. The first one is a more general rule which allows system chains to freely alias the same accounts between them. So you can say Alice on one system chain can alias her Alice account on another system chain. And the reason that's not the case for all chains is because it's a potential security concern. If one chain gets compromised, then you can control on that chain the same account on other chains. But yeah, on system chains, the level of security and the trust level is equal between them. The owner is the same, the interests are aligned. So yeah, we decided to make this UX improvement. And a very practical use case for this is basically people trying to set their identity on people chain, and they need to have some DOT. And right now they have to literally move DOT to the people chain and operate on some chain to move the DOT, and then operate on the people chain to set the identity. And yeah, something like this would allow a dApp or anything, a UI, to just offer you an option is like where do you have your money. You just select the account you want to fund the identity from, and it just does everything underneath, sends the funds. And the missing part so far was that it was able to send the funds, but it wasn't able to act on behalf of the same account on the people chain. And now it will be able to. And the other mechanism, which is a more generic expansion of this same thing, is a mechanism through which users can authorize certain accounts or certain generic XCM locations to alias to their account. So it's a explicit like a buy-in, rather opt-in mechanism where you can say, you know, this account on this chain, I want it to be able to control. I authorize this other location to control this account that I own, right? And this allows people to, or allows, let's say, user stories and UIs to have like a, let's say, pre-authorization, maybe transaction or something like that, but then allow you to do something across multiple chains consistently, or we'll see. It's like a building block that will allow multiple things to happen. It's definitely useful, will be useful with Snowbridge v2 when you want to transact all the way from Ethereum and you want to authorize some smart contract on Ethereum to do something on your behalf on some other chain. A more esoteric, future-looking piece of functionality. Yeah, and the other thing that I focused on lately is Snowbridge v2 improvements. So first of all, Snowbridge v2 development is done, audit was complete, all the findings, there were around 20-something findings, all of them were like informational or like minor. There's fixes for all of them in progress right now. Nothing that, you know, requires any big change, so punctual fixes, also no real concern. And it's going to, again, the target for it is like, since it's been released is SDK 2503, target for being live is also hopefully end of Q2, maybe sometime in Q3. We'll see how things actually end up live on chain. And I was actually looking even further than Snowbridge v2 in what are the pain points of trustless bridges right now in the Polkadot ecosystem. And one thing that keeps coming up from customers or businesses is basically high latency. So high cost and high latency. The cost will be solved with this Snowbridge v2. To give you some numbers, right now the average cost to send stuff to Ethereum is like around $6. To send from Ethereum to Polkadot is around $1. And with Snowbridge v2, it's going to be like from Polkadot to Ethereum, like 80 cents or 70 cents. So like 90% cheaper. And to Polkadot is also cheaper, not 90%, like half or something like that. So instead of $1, around 50 cents or 40 cents or 30 cents. Obviously, it depends on the gas price, network congestion and all that, but at current prices, this is the difference. So the cost will be greatly improved, but the latency is still a problem right now. The latency is around 20 to 30 minutes each way. And for both directions, the problems come from consensus, let's say light client design. So basically the light clients that are followed this the Polkadot consensus and the Ethereum consensus and the way they're designed. And from Ethereum to Polkadot, like Ethereum finality itself is like 15 to 17 minutes. So if we want to import something that we have deterministic finality for, we just have to wait for that amount of time. There's no way to do it. But I am exploring some ideas to provide some, let's say, layers of services or layers of offerings of options. Maybe you are fine with doing a transfer or sending a message that is okay with only probabilistic finality instead of deterministic finality. So maybe if you're sending just a small amount of money, you're like, okay, I want it faster. I'm going to be happy with like 5 minutes probabilistic finality instead of 15 minutes. The whole thing. And other stuff that we can build here. I'm now only researching, but I'll try to come up with like a document or an article or something where we can explore more. And the other direction is basically Polkadot to Ethereum. We're using Beefy. Beefy validating Beefy signatures, like all of them would be too expensive. So right now there's this random sampling protocol that is using Ethereum randomness and it's like a multi-stage, multi-round protocol where it's like challenging random validators to provide their signatures. So instead of like checking all of them, you check a random subset of them. But the whole thing takes 20 minutes just because you need this randomness from on-chain from Ethereum that is like slow to build up. Anyway, it's like it takes 20 minutes. So this is a big latency problem. And we're looking at, I was looking into options, and I didn't come up with anything myself, but like coordinating with Web3 Foundation, with the Snow org team, and trying to push for BFBLS, which will help here. And before BFBLS is like a reality, which from what I understand is like between 6 months and 1 year, there is some based on a paper that Alistair and Bhargav, and I'm sorry if I'm missing someone out, but wrote a research paper where they were looking at fiat Shamir, let's say, optimization. Anyway, without going into too many details, there might be something we can do in the meantime, which is sort of simpler. Which instead of this incremental like multi-round random sampling, it's using fiat Shamir to hash a random and uses hashing to choose a random not a random but a pseudo-random subset of the validator set and only verify those signatures. And according to the research from Alistair on the economic probability and game theory, using 100 signatures, verifying 100 signatures would be enough. I mean, you could attack this by brute force hashing more, but it's more profitable to mine Bitcoin than brute force the bridge at 100 signatures, right? If you go below 100 signatures, it's like, it depends. Or actually, the threshold is actually lower than 100, but we said 100 to be safe. Anyway, the point is, if we do this, we need to implement a new light client on the Ethereum side. But if we do this, we will have a slightly more expensive ability because you're verifying more signatures and you do some extra hashing. But it's like instant finality, like instant as in block latency, like 1 or 2 blocks latency. It's like you just push it, and the smart contract either verifies everything within that block or maybe spread across 2 blocks, but not 20 minutes. It's like 30 seconds maybe, or something. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, I think that covers what I've been mostly focusing on.
Interesting. So basically, you with Snowbridge V2 or with this part of the solution you're building, you can give users the ability to pay a bit more and get a result faster if they want to.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully we build something that doesn't expose so like the low-level knobs to the user, but some sort of service where you can have sort of a slider, right? How much are you willing to pay? How much latency do you want? Something like that. And we want to run both of them in parallel. So you run both the cheap 20-minute latency thing, but also this faster thing, which is a bit more expensive. So whenever you have someone willing to pay for the latency, you just use this underneath.
Got it.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Just a probabilistic one, like for Ethereum, like from Ethereum to Polkadot. That was the one. How does it work? So, for example, I sent like whatever $5 to Polkadot, and if like the dollars disappear, what but in the meantime, I already sold you like $5, and like how does it like? I probably missed something, but like you get the point.
Yeah,
like,
I get the point. So that's the thing. It's not guaranteed. You don't have 100% guarantee. You might lose the money. So that's the. But you.
Okay, but I mean, like, but what is it like? What's the purpose when I get the money like 2 minutes earlier, or like whatever, 10 minutes earlier when I cannot use it because like it could disappear before like the real finality comes in. You know what I'm like? Like I said, like I like $5 from Ethereum side.
Yeah, I see what you mean. As in, you cannot really use it in the rest of the Polkadot ecosystem because they're actually waiting for this. Yeah,
I mean, I would wait.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, definitely. I don't know. I don't have this. Is just it's a good point.
Okay, okay.
It's a good point. It's definitely not something that you can be natively what do you call it, integrated with everything else. But you might be able to build some let's say communication channel over the bridge between two smart contracts where they just exchange some information and they can say, you know, I want the low latency information. I can do something with it now, and we'll see. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the other idea, or like the other thing that I want to explore further, and I think I was talking to the Snowfork team, and probably they would want to build a service around this using, you know, treasury funding, because they already have experience in running relays and running off-chain logic and stuff like that. And the other idea I was thinking is like using or trying to align a bit with the rest of the industry on this cross-chain intents, and build a system where you have some sort of off-chain moving of value, or not even moving them cross-chain, but just swapping between them, and relying on the bridge for settlement, right, for official settlement. So for example, if you want to move something from Polkadot to Ethereum, you lock something into one of these intents, and you say, you know, I'm locking like $100 here, I want $100 there. The moment it's been finalized on Polkadot side, which is, you know, Biffy, it's pretty fast. Biffy, sorry, Grandpa, Biffy, doesn't matter, but it's pretty fast. The whatever service you build on top, it already has a guarantee off-chain. You know, it's not coming from the bridge, but they can check and they say, okay, this is fine as this is locked. If I serve this intent on the other side, later on, 20 minutes later, half an hour later, whatever, it will actually be unlocked to me. Right? And you can build a service of providing that off-chain service to users for a fee. And yeah, you can build it with taking no risk, but, you know, just having some bootstrap liquidity, or you can even do it with this probabilistic finality and take some risk, right? So for example, Ethereum has a probabilistic finality of just half that time of one session rather than 2 sessions. Right now, that since it's running, there hasn't been any fork past the 1 session mark, but the actual deterministic finality is after 2 sessions at least. So probabilistically, ever since they moved to proof of stake, after 1 session, you're fine. So maybe if you're building a off-chain service, you can be more competitive and say, you know, this guy locked $100. I'm going to give him $100 here after I get just 1 session on Ethereum. And, you know, I'll actually unlock the whole thing and be able to settle everything when everything happens, and I can use the bridge and whatever. But you can do something like that. Yeah, this is very, very just ideation right now.
Yeah, absolutely. There's also these cross-chain initiatives. So, for example, the Open Intents framework, which is a collaboration between multiple layer 2s and Ethereum.
Yeah.
To push for this standard. It's one of the RFC standards from ERC standards from Ethereum. But it might also be interesting for the hub at some point.
Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty convinced we want to align with everyone else here.
Yeah, I mean, especially since Polkadot is building a lot of the stuff on interoperability, might be a good idea.
Yeah, and with the EVM support, yeah, you can offer this kind of EVM rollups.
Awesome. Okay, thank you, Adrian, for the sophisticated insight. I would say we move on, and next up is rank 3 fellowship member Jan Bujak. Hi, Jan.
Hey. So, well, I think this is the first time I'm actually speaking on this call. Yeah. So hi, Jan. Nowadays, I mostly work on PolkaVM and on PVM, which is, you know, the virtual machine for Jam. And I won't bore you with too much details. Well, lately I'm been mostly focusing on working on the gas cost model for PVM, which is essentially, in simple words, how much money do we have to charge for each instruction that is executed, essentially. So this involves a lot of benchmarking, a lot of experiments, a lot of writing really, really low-level code, which essentially counts CPU cycles and can exactly tell you how many things like cache misses your code is making, and then building a model based on that. So yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you, Jan. Yeah, I wasn't sure, but I was supposing, so welcome to the fellowship call. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thanks.
Does anyone have a question for Jan? Whatever.
Yeah, one question. Maybe this is heretical or something, but do you think it will ever support floats? Like, I know that we currently use the floating registers in some different manner, but I mean, a lot of legacy workloads like scientific computing and simulation are using floats. So I was just wondering when we kind of sell it as a come here and just run your program, and then it doesn't use floats. Like, do you see an issue with that, or?
Well, if it's just an issue of running the code, right, you can just use soft floats, and that works reasonably well. And as long as you don't need like pedal to the metal speed, then it's usually fast enough. Like, for example, I have this NES emulator I wrote, and it uses quite a bit of floating point calculations to like resample audio, right? And even though it needs to run like in real time and do the resampling, it still works fast enough, because like modern PCs are really, really fast. So for those kinds of use cases, soft floats work just fine. And if you need like something faster, then even if we have floats, this is just really not enough. Like for example, just for the sake of argument, if you would like to run like a machine learning model, like an LLM, for example, which is completely unrealistic, but let's assume that you want to run one, right? For that, you really need much more than just floats. Ideally, you also need like full SIMD support, and ideally to run it in parallel, and ideally to not even run it on the CPU. So in theory, we could add some support from floats, but I just don't really see a good use case for it, because like if you add floats, you probably also want SIMD, and that increases the complexity budget through the roof of the whole thing. And we really want to keep this as simple as possible. So in conclusion, I wouldn't say no 100%, but like I would need to see a good motivating use case where this would really make a difference, and then maybe we could consider it.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. Makes sense.
All right. Yeah, maybe as a closing, let me ask a question. Were you somehow involved when there was this Doom on PolkaVM thing? Was this something that you were working with?
I mean, yes, it was me who ported the Doom, and spoiler alert, I was recently working on Quake 2, so I mean,
So,
I got it running on pure PolkaVM. Quake works already, and you can play it. You can play through the whole game actually if you have the data files. We will see about porting it so it actually runs on chain. But stay tuned for that.
we definitely will. All right. Thank you, Jan. Good. Moving on. We are moving to rank 2 fellowship members. And first up here is Muhaven, rank 2 in the fellowship with a salary of $1,666. Hi, Muhaven.
Hi. Can you hear me? Yes. So I'm working on AssetHub migration. So the last thing I was working is benchmarks. So basically, before sending any message from the relay chain, data message from the relay chain to the AssetHub, we also want to account the weight of the AssetHub, like the weight of how much work is this message puts on AssetHub to kind of process it, so that we don't send more than it can process. So we need to kind of keep track on it. So that was I was working. I also related. I started pushing, moving forward the async baking for AssetHub especially, and it's actually was for me it was like a part of work, not on enabling async baking, but basically on AssetHub migration, because like we did some first dry runs and checked how long it will take basically the AssetHub migration, and I thought, okay, the async baking will help really a lot, because it even with one core it basically increases the ref time by 4. So I started moving basically forward the pull request that enabling async baking for AssetHub only, just because I'm focusing. I just want to keep the focus on AssetHub migration. And so a big thank you actually for Robert, Sebastian. So I had a lot of questions to them because of I had a lot of questions around async backing for to move it forward. So yes.
So excuse me if the questions may be wrong or naive. Does it mean, so if you reduce the ref time, it means the transactions also get cheaper?
So we increase the ref time. So basically increase the compute time that is the capacity of one block execution, right?
Yeah. Okay. So you can fit more into a block.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Does anyone have a question?
Yeah, I mean the mechanism is currently not really like market dependent. It's just set to the lowest value, and then when the blocks are like getting full, then it goes up, but it doesn't go below the current thing. I guess it could if there was no usage, but that's just how it's currently written.
Got it. All right. Thank you, Murim. And next up is Sebastian. Sebastian Kunert, rank 2 in the fellowship with a salary of $1,666. Hi, Sebastian.
Hey. Yeah, I'm still working on the same thing that I think I said last time, which is forks on parachains. So yeah, for the past years, we were using this look-ahead collator with asynchronous backing, and it was producing blocks at 6-second rate, but it was also building on all forks. But now with elastic scaling, we don't have enough time to build on all forks of the relay chain. So what we do is we build on the best block of the relay chain, but in theory, like shouldn't happen often, but it could happen that you are building on the wrong fork, and then as the relay chain progresses, we are later switching. And yeah, this is like not optimal, and we want to avoid it. So there was the idea to build on like older relay parents, and this is what I'm currently working on. Like by building on not the tip of the relay chain, but like 2 older blocks, we will probably not have any forks at all on these parachains, which is pretty nice. But at the same time, it comes, as always, with some trade-offs. So basically, the XCM latency increases, and the space that you have in the POV slightly decreases. So currently, I expect if you have, for example, 1,000 validators on the relay chain, that you maybe need to pay around 40 kilobytes to 50 kilobytes of POV space to have this trade-off. But not having any forks at all is kind of nice. So continue to working on that.
Awesome. Thank you, Sebastian. Does anyone have a question for Sebastian? Adrian?
Does this, you mentioned it increases XCM latency. Does it also increase finality latency for the relay chain?
No. Like the relay parent that we choose is a bit older, but it shouldn't impact the relay chain finality, actually.
I mean, yeah, okay.
The thing is that, like, when some other chain is sending us some message, right? It arrives at the relay chain and it already is visible at some tip of the chain.
Yeah.
But on the Parachain, we will choose some older parent. So at that parent in the state, we don't see this message yet. So this is where the latency comes from. But like, I think when it comes to the backing and inclusion, nothing changes.
Yeah, makes sense.
Good. I don't see more questions for Sebastian. Okay, then we move on. And I believe we're done with all the rank twos. Good. So we're moving on to rank 1. And next up is Clara. Rank 1 in the fellowship with a salary of $833.
Hello,
Hi.
can you hear me?
Hi, Clara.
Sorry, my mic broke yesterday, so I was just checking. I'm not going to speak into the ether. So I've been mostly working on Snowbridge V2 in the last month. Adrian also gave a good update on that, so I'm not really going to elaborate on it. Apart from our audit issues is nearly completed, so it will be nice to wrap that up and backport it into 2503 and get it done. Other than that, we tested the Ethereum Electra hard fork on Western Sepolia about a month ago on 5 March. We tested the live switch over between the Deneb fork and the Electra fork, and all of that went smoothly, thankfully. And it's super important now to get a bridge up runtime upgrade out to be in time for the fork on mainnet on 7 May. So I'm busy with the release for that. Adrian is helping me. Thank you, Adrian. Other than that, I thought I'd maybe just give a quick update on what the rest of my team is working on, even though they're not in the fellowship. So we went live with native Ether support, I think, within the last few weeks. So previously, you could only bridge wrapped Ether, which is a bit of a UX pain. You have to take your Ether, like wrap it in a contract and then send it. And we took care of it, but it is a little bit confusing if you bridge something called WETH, if you're used to seeing Ether. So native Ether is live now. I think Hydration is busy adding it as well, so that's a big win for us. We also launched Polkadot native assets on Ethereum support. It's actually live on the UI, but we haven't really advertised it yet. So we support DOT and KSM transfers from AssetHub to Ethereum. And any assets that are registered as a foreign asset on AssetHub. We suspect there might be a bit of work with other parachains for them to teleport their assets to AssetHub and then from there send it to Ethereum. But the base functionality is there. And then we're also working on sending tokens to Kusama from Ethereum to Kusama using the PK bridge. So I've opened a ref to register all the ERC20s that we have at the moment on Polkadot, on Kusama as well. Once that's live, we can build the UI for it. And then I don't think there's much on-chain work left for that. And then on the integrations front, within the last, I think, month, we integrated with Hydration, Moonbeam, and Bifrost. Yeah, I think that's mostly it.
All right. Thanks, Clara, for the update. Does someone have a question for Clara? Adrian.
I'll take this opportunity to shamelessly ask the fellows on the call to help with this Bridge Hub release. I dropped the link in the chat here. Like Clara said, we really need to get, and we're just targeting Polkadot Bridge Hub patch release, and we need to get it live enacted, before Ethereum does its hard fork. Otherwise, Bridge is dead. Not forever dead, but dead for a window, and we want that window to be 0. Yep.
So
And
am I guessing?
Go ahead, Tommy. Sorry.
Am I guessing correctly? If it wouldn't go through in time, then the chain would be bricked until you would be able to get an update through?
That's correct, yes. So we'd probably stop the relays because we'd just submit invalid transactions. But I think it's 22 days now before the hard fork, so I think it should be in time, but we need to get it out soon.
Right. And none of the fellows would like to dishonor Polkadot by bringing shame on us and not helping to get this through, I suppose.
Yeah, it would not be bricked, so I just want to make it clear, nothing would be bricked, but the bridge would be, let's say, disabled until we support the new thing. So any pending messages would just be pending, and any new messages would also just be pending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just had another note on your update, Clara. I was actually checking PNA on the UI support, and it's not there yet. I know that the on-chain changes are, but the UI is still basically work in progress, probably not deployed yet. Just wanted to make that clarification in case someone actually tries. They're not there yet.
Okay, cool. I think it's live on our staging app, but yeah, I think it will be released within the next day or two.
Nice. That's all for me.
Great. Okay. Then let's move on. Thank you, Clara. So let's move on. Next up is Arden Dima, rank 1 in the fellowship with a salary of $833.
Yep. Hello.
Hi, Arden. Hey.
Yeah. So for the past couple of months, I've been working on the collator protocol revamp. This is basically a rewrite of the at least the validator side of the collator protocol, which is the code that is interfacing between backing validators and the collators. We aim to add like a persistent reputation system. We currently have kind of a reputation system that has some drawbacks. One of them being that it's not persistent. Other one being that they are local to the validator that interacted with the collator, and not like network-wide. So yeah, I've been doing some POCs locally and doing the design work, and now I've started creating some PRs. Some of them have been merged already, and it's like in the middle of the implementation. That would be kind of it.
Interesting. What's the intention behind of it? Is it for the system chain collators?
It's no. I mean, it's a way of making the parachains more resilient to DOS attacks, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, which
so
is gonna be.
It's also for system parachains, but not only. It's like for all parachains.
Yeah. But I guess it's going to be important because we're moving a lot of functionality to AssetHub, which is run by collators. So there also needs to be a good DDoS or DOS protection. Okay.
Yep.
Good. Does anyone have a question for Adin? That is not the case. All right. Thank you, Adin. Good. Next up is Daniel Shiposha. Rank 1 in the fellowship with a salary of $833.
Yeah, hello everyone. Do you hear me? Yeah.
Yes. Hi.
Okay. Hello. So I finished the my draft PR of the XCM wide simplification. It was much harder than I thought. But you know, well, it's done. It works. I mean, the most important thing works. That XCM payment API is a method that converts the weight into the selected currency's fee. The runtime API is now working exactly as the weight trader, so the computation is exactly the same without any code application. There are several things also changed, simplified around weight trader, but I have a strong feeling that if we just want, for now, we want to have this common implementation for the runtime API, we don't need refactoring. I have a strong feeling for that. So I think I will return to that again. And I think we could do a workaround instead of refactor. Because, you know, this draft PR introduces too many changes to this part of XCM, and induces the need to change the XCM configs, which is a big no-no in this case. I mean, it's not worth it. Well, at least this R&D really more knowledge about how this part of the team works, so it's a good thing as well. I will return to that with the workaround, I believe, for the runtime API. In the meantime, Yegor Sidorenko reviewed my PRs related to XCM team. The two PRs, the one about new XCM types, the abstract traits, abstract redundant ones, and the related PR that provides XCM adapters to create asset transactions based on these new types. So I'm working on Yegor's comments right now. Actually, I'm nearly finished. So I hope that this week the PR about the new types will be touched, and the XCM related one will be merged as well. Well, I don't know, sometime after that. So that's the plan. Yeah, in the previous call, I told that I could look at XCM v6 draft PR from Brian, but well, given that the XCM and FTPRs are moving again, I'd like to finish completely and focus on the XCM v6 XCM master data. So it's in the future. And that's it.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Good. Then any questions? No. Okay, good. Then let's move on. Next up is Francisco, rank 1 in the fellowship, with an, at least to me, unclear status of your salary. Francisco, are you claiming a salary?
I am not claiming a salary now. Can you hear me well?
Yes. Yeah,
Now
works out.
maybe,
We can hear you.
now maybe better. Yeah. I'm one of the food workers trying to get the release out that will enable elastic scaling, as you said before. There were some tests that were failing, first XCM related, then some identity stuff. Now CI is running. We'll see if it's done. If not, I will keep on trying to make it work. But everything is in there. It's just making sure that everything passes. Then I'm still working on XCM in smart contracts on the hub. Once the release is out, I can focus on that most of my time. And I gave some lectures in the PBA about XCM, which gave me the opportunity to create some exercises, sort of a workshop of how XCM P5 works, how you can use it, showing use cases like doing a cross-chain transfer, then doing a swap, coming back, or the new origin preserving feature where you can do a cross-chain transfer and then transact on the same message. I will be trying to integrate those into the formal docs of XVM as snippets to make sure that everyone knows how to use XMB5 when it comes out as well with this release.
Awesome. So elastic scaling getting out. Yeah, the unit tests. I recently started to get into vibe coding and using AI to do all my stuff. And so I even it's for a casual project, of course, a non-critical project. Well, a blockchain is very different, but I don't even look at the unit test. I just say, write some unit tests, and then it writes unit tests, and then they fail. And then I just say, fix the unit, run the unit tests and fix them until they pass. So I don't even know what the unit tests are. And while I'm watching the AI do this, I think about you folks and think about you would never be allowed to do this. You have to really grind through the stuff and do the actual fixing and know what you're doing. So thank you for that, because I've written unit tests in the past, and it's not an activity that I enjoy, but it's super critical and important for the stuff that is being built here. All right. Okay. More admissions from my side of what a kind of an unresponsible person I am. But thank you, Cisco. Okay, next up, we go to someone unknown, rank 1 in the fellowship, and the person with the most interesting name in the fellowship.
Hello,
hey, can you hear us? Hey, man.
Yeah. Long time no here. Yeah, that's because I was on a super secret mission. I cannot talk publicly about, otherwise they will find me. So the legend, the official version, is that I was doing some important but very boring benchmarks for the internal use of the fellowship, TPS benchmarks, I mean. And I will not tell you about this, otherwise I'm afraid you will fall asleep. So I will concentrate on what I'm doing right now and what I'm going to do in next weeks. And I'm talking about implementing RFC4. As you can induce from its number, it's one of the ancient primordial RFCs. And it was proposed a long time ago in 2023, I believe. And it mainly intended to be an optimization of a kind, pretty obvious one, but there were no major reasons to push it forward hardly. Like, okay, it's good to have, but circumstances changed dramatically last month. So, and right now, implementing that RFC would help us in many aspects. To name some most important, we could increase the size of contract, the amount of memory available to the contract. And it is also an important step towards the PolkaVM integration for Parachain runtime execution. So yeah, that is what I'm going to do next week, and it's a really interesting technical task, and I'm just happy this piece is mine. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's it from my side for today.
All right, thank you. Not sure if you're the right person, but I had this discussion on Twitter recently, and people were asking, when you talk about contracts, do you talk about the Ethereum contracts?
Yes.
Yes. So do you know what the gas limit will be?
No, I'm afraid it's not the question to me. I'm establishing maybe mechanisms that can have influence on that, but I'm not controlling the value itself.
Got it. All right, thank you. Someone else here on the call who knows the gas limit for contracts on the hub?
I mean, I don't really know the limit, but I can chime in here. This will probably I think right now no one really knows this. However, we will probably have fairly unoptimized gas costs, and we will get them down as the time goes. The very simplest the most straightforward improvement that we are planning to do is like right now we will be running the contracts in an interpreter, and later we will migrate into a recompiler, right? So that's like, for example, one thing that will drastically reduce gas costs, and there are also a bunch of other optimizations that we can do. So even though like do not think that the gas cost that will be set right now will stay like this forever. We will optimize this, and if they end up being bad, which we don't know, I mean, I don't think anyone knows, then we will improve them. So yeah.
Okay, good to know. So any rumors going around about gas size limits are I can tell people it's not yet determined. We will figure it out. Got it. Okay, thank you, Jan. Also, thank you, someone unknown, for letting us in on the official version of things. And with that, not sure if I read the UI correctly here. You're receiving the passive salary, right? So the $416. Maybe he's already gone. He's already gone. Disappeared with the money. All right, then let's move on. And next up is, I believe, say it.
Sure. I guess this is also my at least first time in 2025 that I get to talk.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you. So I will tell you everything I did since January. So most critical is this proof of possession that we are working on with Andrew. It's almost at the finish line, and if it goes through, and then the Bastian PR goes through, and then we can update Bastian's RFC, which has already been voted in to use this proof of possession, which is more secure, and then validator can basically generate the LS key. So that PR is almost there. There was some weird wasm bug that it was giving like Rust core error that took us a week to do trial and error and see from which crate is coming, but then that is resolved. So I think it's almost there. It passes all the tests. So I hope that goes in, and that's the most influential one. I worked also on snarking VRF, and this is something that is being used in proof of personhood voting, like on the people collective, that when they want to vote and they want to vote secretly, so they basically use a VRF, but which then in the snark it shows that the person is part of the ring, but it doesn't show who is the person. This is already there, but I was working on an improved version that you can use on systems that don't have Bandersnatch as native verification, which you can do that on Polkadot and Kusama because we have native Bandersnatch, but like somewhere like Ethereum that doesn't. So now the VRF was being checked before out of the snark. Now we put everything in the snark and you only do, so it's a new snark that you just verify the snark and you verify the vote, and that is correct, and you verify that the person is the real ring, is inside the collective, and then you don't need to do extra operation and become cheaper. I handed that to Sergey. He's working on the Solidity contract for that now. Beside that, so there is this other thing. We are generating a succinct Merkle proof for increasing the amount of transactions. So that's the bottleneck for having a lot of transaction in one block. That for every transaction you need to submit also the Merkle proof for the transaction. So for example, if a Parachain does something, every time it does it move money from one account to another account, has to give a Merkle proof to the validator to say that that it didn't generate the money. The money was actually in the account, and the final, So, but then Merkle proofs are becoming big when there's a lot of account. So now I was working on making 16 Merkle proof using this framework called Plunky 3, which doesn't have a document and is project going. So it wasn't very clear. There's a lot of trial and error there because nobody knows how to use it. So that's one is also I submitted a very initial, very, very, very early version. It's not working, but at least it's some kind of proof of concept. So that's also what I was working about. The stuff that are related to Polkadot. So sorry.
All right. Hey, I have a question. What is proof of possession? I heard it. You mentioned it. I heard someone else mention it today, but I haven't got a grip on that concept yet.
So currently we don't have proof of possession on Polkadot. When a validator rotate keys, they just make a transaction, they put a list of public keys, and they send it to the relay chain, and they say, this is my new set of keys. And they tell the relay chain, believe me, these are my keys. And relay chain believe them without anything. But proof of possession, when it comes into effect, the relay chain will say, I won't believe that you have the private key. Not only give me the public key, also send me a proof that you have the possession of the private key. This is less critical for like ECDSA and ED25519 and RS25919 that we are using now. But for BLS, it's very critical. So if you submit a key that you don't own, you can forge a public key. I can forge a public key using your public key and my public key, my real public key that I'm not going to tell the relay chain. And then I submit that fake public key, which is, I don't actually possess the private key, but then I lie to the relay chain and say I have it. And eventually, using that, I can make a signature that shows you and me have signed something that you even didn't sign. So for keys that are not getting aggregated as is D25919, that attack doesn't work. But for BLS, that I can add your signature to my signature and get one signature that aggregated both, then I can fake signatures if I don't prove that I actually possess that private key. So we cannot really start using BLS without making validator to prove that they have the private key. Otherwise, there's this attack. So that is a blocker before we can adapt the BLS signature. They kicked down. I think so. That's it. Yeah, I think. And then our moderator got kicked out for some reason. Maybe his battery finished. But then, yeah, I don't know who should take it from here. Okay.
Yeah, maybe one question about this anonymous voting. Like, what's the plan here? Like, are you just adding the primitives, or like who would then integrate it into the pellets?
Anonymous voting. So let me think. It should. So basically, what will happen? What will happen? The voter has to generate the vote, right? Completely offline. Because it's secret and involves their private key that goes inside the snark. And then when the vote is ready, then they submit it as a transaction. I guess there should be, none of us were thinking about moving that code to the pallet, but the verifier need to move to the pallet to verify that's the VRF, the snark, just the snark. I assume Sean probably is working on that because we changed basically create.io and then his stuff broke and it was sad. So I think we just give the Rust code and I think Sean is working on the front. That is my understanding. Yeah, to basically copy paste the verifier code into the frame. verify the transactions is valid.
Okay.
And this need to use I mean, to be faster, this need to use this elliptic curve extensions that has not been in production. But I guess there's a no STD code to run KZG inside the like you can run ArcWork no STD inside the palette. It's just like 10 times slower than using those native code.
All right. My computer crashed, but I'm back. Say before we move on to Pablo, one question. What's your username on chain? Like, are you identified? Because we I think we couldn't find you.
It's a Skullman. Sorry.
Okay.
On the fellowship, yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you. This will help us. Good. Okay. Let's move to Pablo, rank 1 in the fellowship. And since I'm on my phone right now, I don't see my notes. So Pablo, can you help us? Are you pulling a salary?
Yeah. Well, for the last couple months right now, I've been working on updating the runtimes to the latest, stable 2412. It's been rough because there have been some issues that have been to be addressed and patched, and we've been waiting for several patches. We're almost there. We are yet a couple of integration tests to be fixed and a couple of benchmark tests to be done before we're there. So in the next couple weeks, hopefully, we'll be releasing the new 150 with the stable 2412 included. After then, I'll start working on the 2503 and then 2506 probably because times tend to be unexpectedly long because of difficulties. But yeah, it's been great. It's been rough, but it's been great. Aside from that, I keep working on my assets testing um, to allow accounts to make a vested transfer of assets in AssetHub, not just the native token, the native DOT, the native TSM, but also assets like USDC. You can transfer you can transfer and vest with this file I'm designing, and it's also almost there. A couple of reviews I have to address before final review and hopefully an audit. And yeah, we'll see how it goes next month.
All right. Thank you, Pablo. Does anyone have a question for Pablo? That is not the case. And I see you're pulling through, like we even get connections in from the airplane or the train. Very good. Okay, thank you for the dedication. And we're moving on. Next up is Guillaume, rank 1 in the fellowship with a salary of $833.
Hello.
Hi, Guillaume.
So this month we made public some part of the work that we made in POP, like a proof of personhood stuff. So there is a one PR, the PR number 8164. I will paste it. And in this PR, there is basically 3 palettes. So there is not the palettes that are actually proving the personhood of people, but there is a palette that will be used by people once they are proved as a person. So once a DIM, like a digital individuality mechanism, proves that an individual is a person, then they can all of these person to register their Bandersnatch key inside the first palette. So the first palette is a people palette. Every people will have their bonus snatch key there, and the DIM will allow individual to register their bonus snatch key, and the DIM will also suspend people if they no longer prove that this individual is a person. So this people palette holds all the keys, the bonus snatch keys, and then this palette, because it's bonus snatch key, it gathers them into rings. So now you have rings with the roots, and this allows you to do, as Sayed said, like anonymous interaction. So within a context is just a 32-byte identifier. Every bonus snatch key has a unique alias, and then from the ring roots and the alias, or just the ring roots on your private key, you can prove that, make some signature for this alias. For this alias in this context. So basically you can interact in a context as one person in a group without saying which person you are. And so this is the first palette, people palette. And there is other primitives, like there is a transaction extensions to be allowed. Like first there is an origins, like a personal alias. And there is a transaction extension to be allowed to dispatch call to this origin. And there is also an equivalent of unsure signed, but it's more like a unsure person within context. And instead of giving you a account ID at the end, it gives you the alias in case if it is successful. So this is the main palette. Yeah. Second palette is just for the testnet. We'll have a dummy DIM implementation, which just allows root to dispatch, allows root to just prove people as individuals. So just root has the ability to say this person is an individual and registers his key and etc. So this will be used in the testnet. And the third palette is general but very related to what we will use it for people. So this third palette is the origin restriction. Basically, it gives some allowance, a maximum allowance, and also okay, let's start. There is a maximum allowance to use some fee. So basically, you can dispatch calls. The fee of the call will be deducted from this allowance until you reach the maximum. And if you reach the maximum, you can't dispatch call anymore. And you have a refill rate, recovery rate. Like every block, you get a small decrease of this allowance. So you can't spam the chain. You are limited, but you have some allowance to do some call. And everything is handled if a dispatch transaction is in post dispatch, there is no fee like a reclaim or like there is no, it's a variant. Then the allowance also refill, etc. Everything is handled correctly. So it's basically a palette with just one transaction extensions and to allow some origin, some fee usage, but in a limited manner. So yeah, and we worked also on the implementation of DIM and other stuff, but it's more private, so nothing much to say there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so this work, I didn't say that, but this work is made by lots of people. It's not my work. So there is Gav, George, Sean, Michal, and me, all participated in the code that is published.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, last month you said you cannot share too much already, but now we're getting some details. So I guess we're getting closer to see your work released for the first time.
Yeah, and this work is what the application will use, like because they will use this ring roots and this authentication. So I think people that want to make some apps that want to make this personhood, the proven personhood to use this stuff, I think it will interest them.
Got it. All right. Okay. Thank you, Guillaume. Good. Let's make sure we're closing it down. I see that we also have Alex here on the call. Hi, Alex.
Hello everyone. So this is my first OpenDev calls. I'm basically Alex, and I'm working on the networking stack. I guess over the last couple of months, I continued my work on the light peer-to-peer network backend, which is a more resource efficient and performant alternative to lib peer-to-peer. The highlights are basically that Kusama is running almost entirely on light peer-to-peer validators without issues. And I'm at the moment working towards a new light peer-to-peer release. Basically a more robust version with a better academia implementation, tiny fixes, cleanups, dependency updates, and this is basically in preparation of enabling light peer-to-peer by default on Polkadot. So that's pretty much the update from my side.
All right, thank you, Alex. Alex, can you tell us maybe if you're identified on-chain, what's your identity? And I guess you're rank 1?
Oh yeah, so I'm rank 1, should be Lex NV.
Lex NV, okay. Good. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good. All right. I think we got everyone. If we haven't talked with you today, please raise your hand. But I think we got everyone covered. And yeah, let's close it down. Maybe we still have Gav with us. Gavin? Maybe not. Yeah, this happens when you are streaming live from a flying saucer, which we did today. But everything went well, mostly. So yeah, thank you everyone for coming together. I think it is really great to see you all working on those different domains. Hub is getting closer. We have releases and upgrades coming for XCM and Snowbridge. We also see we get like a few more leaks and details on the side of proof of personhood, and then all kinds of optimizations that all of you are working on, unit tests, benchmarking, other kinds of optimizations. It was really great to see all of this coming together. Yeah, thank you for coming again this month. I'm looking forward to meet next month. Here's some details from Gavin about what's going on with Champ Zero. And up until then, see you and Godspeed, everyone.